started Drogheda Life 14 years ago, basically as something to pass the time after I got made redundant. I like to portray a positive side of Drogheda.
Concern is growing for a mother and her 8-year-old son who've been missing from their home in Drogheda for over a week.
At the beginning of September this year, Drogheda journalist Andrew Spearman responds to a missing persons appeal for 24-year-old mother Kyran Durnin and her son Kyran.
Dela is 5'5" and a slim build with brown eyes and brown hair. Her son is 3'3" of medium build and also has brown eyes and brown hair.
I published a missing persons notice, and then nothing happened for a couple of weeks.
A chance meeting with Rhonda Tyson, the grandmother of the missing child, prompts Andrew to help.
I met Rhonda in the street and said, "Any news of Kyran or Dale?" And she said, "No." I said, "Do you want me to do a follow-up piece? It's just to refresh people's memories and to hopefully get more information." So she said, "Yeah, that'd be good maybe, but I'd have to ask the guards first."
Can you tell us when you first met Rhonda?
Well, Rhonda's actually a neighbour of mine. We live in the same street. We would have had a sort of a nodding acquaintanceship, just say hello on the street, and that was it. Got to know her a bit through cycling. She used to be a fairly keen cyclist. I did an article about her and her daughter doing a charity cycle, and it was a nice story. That's the kind of positive thing I like to publish. She works as a lollipop lady.
So Rhonda was a lollipop lady?
Yeah, and very popular with the kids in school.
So tell us about the meeting that you set up with Rhonda.
It was arranged for a couple of days afterwards. We had the house to ourselves, bar a parrot who kept interrupting, but anyway.
What did she tell you?
Well, she told me that Dela, her daughter, and her grandson, Kyran, had spent the night before they went missing on the couch in her front room. When she got up in the morning, they were gone. But she'd left a note saying that she needed to get away for a while. And that's about as much as she went into that. I didn't see the note, but apparently the guards have it now.
Was she very upset?
She was very upset, yeah. There were tears, yeah. And she told me that in the previous 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks or so, since the missing persons report, that the guards had been in and out of the house morning, noon and night, basically.
But as far as you were concerned, you were sitting across the kitchen table from a distraught mother
yeah.
And grandmother.
Yeah, that's as I saw it then, yeah. That's what I was told.
This is a recording of Andrew's interview with Rhonda Tyson. It's the first time it's been broadcast. A grandmother desperate for the return of her daughter and beloved grandson.
You're appealing directly to her. I say, please, if you're reading this, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I
do, because she's the only one that can tell where Kyran is.
Yeah.
And he needs to come home. His dad is worried about him, his other granny, his uncle,
Everybody's
all,
worried,
yeah.
Yeah.
They all want him home. The guards want him
Okay.
home. Please, basically, please come home. Worried sick about you, and Kyran. Your girls miss you.
So we're just coming up to the end of the street where Dela lived with her mum until the end of August. It's from here that Rhonda says Dela and Kyran suddenly disappeared. In the recording, Rhonda Tyson says that she last saw Dela and Kyran at 11 p.m. before she went to bed.
Let's just go through the basics first. So Dela and Kyran, isn't it? Kyran?
Yeah, Kyran.
Yeah. Last seen on Wednesday the 28th, 11 p.m. Whereabouts was that?
It was here.
Oh yeah, leaving
Yeah.
here or arriving?
No, I was going up to bed. She was sitting down and I said, look, it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
I had to get up, we're up early in the morning.
So you went to bed?
Yeah. They were sleeping on the couch because there's only the small two rooms upstairs.
Yeah.
But what appears to be a straightforward missing persons case is about to become a much bigger story.
I was in contact with a source, and that source said to me, Michael, there is a massive national scandal about to break, and I remember their words, you need to be across this. And they told me the story about a missing child who Gardaí had been searching for, at that stage it was a few weeks, I think. There are lots of missing person reports in Ireland every week, so I wasn't overly aware of the case. But then the person started to fill me in, and what really shocked me was that Gardaí now believed that a child may have been dead for more than 2 years. So that really shocked me because it had been under the radar. But the top line for me was that Gardaí have concerns for a child who they believe may be dead for 2 years.
The bombshell revelation is confirmed within weeks. Dela Durnin is located by police in Britain without her son Kyran. In mid-October, the Garda launch a murder investigation.
Last Wednesday, 16th of October 2024, the Garda Síochána issued a public appeal for information on the disappearance of Kyran Durnin, who will now be 8 years old, missing, presumed dead.
What we've worked at is trying to identify proof of life since the last actual sighting in 2022. But we have our work to do. This is a murder investigation, and you can be assured that we are pursuing it with full vigour and resources.
What was your reaction when you heard the news that Kyran was presumed dead for 2 years?
I was absolutely gobsmacked. I was shocked to the core. I was like, how could that be?
Gardaí believe the last physical sighting of Kyran was in 2022. So how is it that Rhonda saw her grandson Kyran with her daughter Dela before they disappeared from her house in August of this year, a whole 2 years later?
I don't often stay awake at night thinking about things, but I did with this. Because either she was lying through her teeth to me, or the guards are wrong.
To try to understand this story, we must go back to the spring and summer of 2022.
Thousands north and south of the border plan to fly from Dublin this bank holiday weekend.
The long-awaited final report on lockdown parties from the senior civil servant Sue Gray has been published.
The closing moments of a memorable Jubilee celebration.
This is reportedly one of the last known pictures of Kyran, posted by his mother on Facebook in April 2022. Kyran is featured beaming alongside his two siblings and the message, "The three who mean the most." Kyran, then aged 6, attended this primary school in Dundalk. Many people remember his smile and his love of superheroes. He appeared to be a happy little boy. In the recording, his grandmother also describes a child who could be vulnerable and had sensory issues.
He's definitely on the spectrum. Yeah. I knew from a little thing coming in here, he was.
Yeah, you know, with kids.
You do, you do. And I started to notice then, especially this time, gone very in on himself, not talking as much, wanting to be left alone, didn't like noise or anything like that, whereas he was now always smiling, always really happy.
It's at this school Gardaí believe Kyran was last publicly seen alive. Before school broke up for summer, his mother, Déla Durnin, told the school he had moved across the border and would be attending school in Northern Ireland. But we now know that wasn't true. We know that in the summer of 2022, Déla told the school that Kyran was moving north to live in Newry. We're on our way to the town now to speak to the man that she claimed was looking after the boy at that time. That man isn't Kyran's father, but he confirms he was Déla Durnin's on-off partner for several years and is the father of her youngest daughter. He doesn't want to appear on camera, but he speaks to me at length and provides information that undermines Déla's version of events. Now, this man says he had absolutely no idea until he was told by the guards and read it in the papers that Déla had told the authorities that Kyran was actually living over the border here in Newry with him. No idea at all. He says he last saw Kyran at the end of March 2022, when the boy visited him in Newry with his sisters, shortly before that reportedly final Facebook photograph. But he says Déla then cut off all contact with him, and he wasn't able to visit the daughter he had with her at their home in Dundalk until well into 2023. When he asked her where Kyran was, she told him the boy had begged to go to Drogheda to stay with his grandmother Rhonda and was flourishing there. Records and sightings of Kyran appear to have completely stopped. No one seems to have followed up to check if he had actually moved across the border. It is this critical period that has become the focus of the Garda murder investigation. Where did he go and why?
So the case is utterly horrifying. This is a child who's completely vanished off the face of the planet.
Keelan Gallagher is Ireland's Special Rapporteur on Child Protection. What questions does this case raise about us as a society?
I suppose one of the issues here is the cross-border aspect. So the idea that a school and social services can apparently have been told that a child was going to move to another jurisdiction, to Northern Ireland, from the Republic of Ireland, and appears to have just been taken at its word without ever being checked up on. And that raises serious concerns. But there's a much more fundamental issue here, that you have a little boy who had contact with school, will have had contact with healthcare workers, a whole range of different agencies, and apparently had an open social services file. And when he went missing, absolutely no one spotted that. That's why it seems to me that although we don't yet know the detail, we do know that this was a child who was fundamentally very badly failed, and it seems likely was failed by multiple agencies and potentially by multiple individuals.
We asked Irish Child Protection Agency TUSLA about its interactions with Kyran and his family. It told us that whilst Kyran was not in the care of TUSLA, its services had engaged with them to provide family support. During 2021 and 22, significant efforts were made by staff to provide further support. It also said no referral was received from Kyran's school in relation to concerns about his welfare or attendance. TUSLA added it did not receive any referrals in relation to Kyran's welfare from any other source, such as health or community services, his family, or a member of the public, during his time in junior infants or subsequently. We know that by late 2022, Kyran wasn't in Newry and he wasn't in school in Dundalk. So where was he? This is Emer Terrace in Dundalk. It's where Déla Durnin lived with her 3 children for about 5 years, including at the time of Kyran's last sighting. In October this year, Gardaí acted on a horrifying possibility. What if he'd been there all along? They began digging up the back garden and adjoining land.
Gardaí investigating the disappearance of Kyran Durnin took possession of a private house on Emer Terrace, Dundalk. Commencing today, that house will be searched and will be subject of technical and forensic examinations, as will the garden and adjoining open ground to that house. The purpose of these searches is to discover any evidence which might provide us with information as to Kyran's whereabouts or what has happened to Kyran.
Gardaí did not release the results of the search for operational reasons, stressing the current tenants are not connected in any way to the case.
We've spoken to locals who often saw Déla and her children on this street. They remember seeing Kyran playing on his own with his football and his bicycle, but none of them can recall seeing him in the past 2 years.
Nobody really knows anybody anymore. But 40 odd years ago, this was a great place. Everybody knew everybody. Families would all play together, whatever. Now it's just very migratory. Nobody stays too long in it. It's an ideal place for somebody to get lost in.
Sources have told Spotlight that Déla Durnin was still claiming child benefits for Kyran while living on this street 2 years after Gardaí believe he went missing. There was another extraordinary twist to come. Déla came back onto TUSLA's radar earlier this year when concerns were raised in relation to another case. Social workers called her and all 3 of her children into welfare meetings in July and August. It was assumed Kyran was there.
I was told that there had been a meeting with TUSLA and that a child had been at that meeting, but it was only later that a social worker became suspicious and raised concerns. So essentially, I was told that a decoy child had been brought to that meeting with the social services TUSLA, and that really shocked me.
Sources have told us that concerns raised by that social worker sometime after TUSLA welfare meetings that a decoy child had been present were confirmed when Gardaí issued Kyran's photograph in the missing persons appeal. But why was the decoy boy not spotted at the time?
What's your reaction to the reports that a young boy has been used as a decoy?
I was frankly horrified to see those reports, both because I was it made me deeply concerned about what may have happened to Kyran. I simply couldn't understand how a welfare check could be carried out on a child without the individuals doing the welfare check knowing what the child looks like. I mean, it's just basic, isn't it? That you would expect that if you're doing a welfare check on a person, you know the person that you're expecting to see. These are some of the very many systemic issues which this case throws up, which raise immediate concerns for Kyran, but also raise concerns for other children where other welfare checks are being carried out.
Tusla said in 2024 it contacted An Garda Síochána with new information relating to concerns over Kyran. By the autumn, all of Ireland is wondering where Kyran is.
We're doing this for a little boy who needs it because he's already been failed so much.
In October, Tusla conducts an internal review into their interactions with Kyran and his family. The findings have not been published. Minister for Children Roderick O'Gorman orders a further independent review into the case.
If any part of the state, if any state agency, state apparatus, state body failed, yes, there will be consequences.
We've learned that the Tusla meetings were not the only occasions in which Dála Durnin presented a decoy child as Kyran. This year, at the end of May, Louth County Council placed Dála and her children in temporary accommodation in a bed and breakfast here in Dundalk. Dála checked a young boy in using Kyran's name and date of birth. Guest house management have told us the boy who stayed there wasn't Kyran.
They only discovered that when they saw his photograph in the Garda's missing persons appeal. They said Dála appeared very happy during her stay and was socialising with a lot of guests. Management have also told us that at one stage a man visited Dála at the guest house. He told a resident he was the father of the boy she had checked in as Kyran. He also told staff he was Dála's carer, but they didn't believe him and he was asked to leave. All our evidence indicates the son of a local man who was in a relationship with Dála Durnin at the time was passed off as Kyran in the guest house and at the Tusla meetings. We put these claims to him, but he didn't respond. Our evidence backs up the Gardaí belief that Kyran disappeared 2 years ago.
We encourage anyone who might know anything of Kyran to come forward to us. The investigation carries on. You can be assured it's fully resourced and it continues at pace.
But without finding his body, why would they launch a murder investigation? Pat Murray is a former detective inspector who in the past has worked on high-profile Garda murder investigations.
I think there are clear suspects in this case. If someone is going to be arrested, what questions are going to be put to these people? What strategy is going to be put to these people while they're detained? And it's no good arresting someone on suspicion and having nothing to put to them. The guards have a good cause to suspect that it's murder.
But what happens if nobody confesses and there's no body?
Once they have reasonable cause to suspect that someone has been involved in a murder, they can make that arrest and they can detain them and question them. But sometimes it's not always wise to move that way until you have something a little bit more concrete.
Kyran's mother Dála is reported to have earlier told police in Britain she doesn't know where her son is. We've had a tip-off she's in Britain and has moved away from where she reportedly spoke to Suffolk police in September. We know from the audio recording of Rhonda's appeal that when she disappeared at the end of August, Dála was seemingly in a vulnerable physical and mental state.
She suffers with mental health.
Yeah.
She doesn't sleep. She never got help for it.
So she was a troubled soul.
Very, yeah.
We've spent a couple of days in this location trying to reach Dela Durnin to ask her what happened to her son. We've spoken to a lot of locals, but the house where she was supposed to be staying has been empty for the past 2 days. So I think if we're going to find out what happened to Kyran, we have to go back to the places where he was last seen. Back in County Louth, I learned something about Kyran's father. We've been told he had spent many months trying to get access to his young son, right up to the point at which Dela Durnin disappeared from her mother Rhonda Tyson's house in Drogheda at the end of August. The recorded interview with Rhonda is now a part of evidence in the Garda investigation.
So Dela and Kyran, is it? Kyran?
Yeah, Kyran.
Yeah. Last seen on Wednesday, the 28th, at 11 p.m. Whereabouts was that?
It was here.
Oh yeah, leaving here or arriving?
No, I was going up to bed. She was sitting there and I said, look, it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
I had to get up, we're up early in the morning.
Yeah, so you went to bed?
Yeah. They were sleeping on the couch because there's only the small two rooms upstairs.
Yeah.
How could Kyran have been in Rhonda Tyson's house that night if, as Gardaí believe, he has been missing, presumed dead, for 2 years? We have questions for Rhonda Tyson. So far, she's not responding to us. So I'm about to go up to her front door to see if she will talk to us. Rhonda, it's Mandy McAuley from the BBC. Rhonda, we have some questions for you. I've been trying to contact you. Rhonda, would you please talk to us?
My property now. I've just had the garden here. Will you leave?
Rhonda, we want to know, do you know what has happened to your grandson? Do you know what has happened to Kyran? We just want to know why you said that Kyran was in your home at the end of August when guards now believe he's been missing, presumed dead for 2 years. Did you deceive the authorities, Rhonda? The Garda Commissioner sees the case of Kyran's disappearance as unprecedented.
I've over 40 years now in the police and I've not seen really the like of it. I cannot think of a similar set of circumstances.
Gardaí have arrested a woman thought to be in her 20s in connection with the murder of Kyran. How he disappeared, unnoticed, remains unexplained.
I feel that this should be a watershed moment for child protection in Ireland. It seems to me there has got to be a robust, independent inquiry, a public inquiry, which looks at the broader non-criminal issues and looks at how on earth this can have happened and fundamentally looks at what needs to change in Ireland's child protection systems to ensure that this never happens again.
Investigations and inquiries may yet tell how a child can disappear, with years slipping by before his absence is noticed. But any answers will likely come too late for Kyran, a little boy lost, presumed dead.